everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Rundown. Want to go over the MLB games scheduled for Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024. And if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Wednesday in Major League Baseball. First up, we see the Boston Red Sox taking on the Miami Marlins. We're going to see Brayan Bello and Trevor Rogers as your starters. Yeah, I've mentioned I haven't really loved what I've seen from Bello this season. Now that ERA above 5.5 after that last start against the Blue Jays, where he went 2 1/3 innings, giving up 7 earned runs and a home run in a 9-4 Red Sox loss. And the Red Sox are now 1-4 in his last 5 games, with a couple of those losses to some losing teams like the White Sox and the Tigers. So while, the Marlins with Trevor Rogers, I know he's been one of the least profitable pitchers in baseball this year, but he's certainly improving his game. We saw a quality start from him in that last one against Philadelphia. For me, I think the value lies with the Marlins in this spot. The Red Sox have had a pretty solid lineup against lefties in terms of OPS and ISO in the last 30 days, but their strikeout rate remains really high, or above 27% right now. So for me, I think the value, like I said, lies with the Marlins. Rogers is pitching his best baseball of the year. It's actually 3 straight quality starts for him. And I'm going to take a shot here with the fish at home. Next up, we see the Chicago White Sox taking on the Cleveland Guardians. Gavin Williams and Eric Fedde are your starters. The season debut for Gavin Williams, the much anticipated season debut. Last year he pitched really well, 3.29 ERA in his rookie season through 82 innings, right around a strikeout per inning. I think eventually he's going to get back to that form, but in the minor league rehab starts he wasn't great. So while it's the White Sox, a pretty easy matchup, I still do worry about Williams a little bit. We know he's going to be on a pitch count. Now the Guardians still have a great bullpen, but for me, with Eric Fedde on the other side, who's been one of the better pitchers in this White Sox rotation, I think Chicago at least competes through the first 5 innings. We've seen that plenty of times this season from this team, and especially when Fedde's been on the mound, they play well in the first 5, maybe have a lead through 5 innings, and then that bullpen enters the game and anything goes out the window. I think the Guardians have a huge advantage in the bullpen in this game and in this series. So for me, I'm going to take the White Sox in the first 5 innings plus a half a run on the road. Next up, the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Miles Mikolas and Jared Jones are your starters. Another game where I'm looking at the first 5 innings. I think Pittsburgh has a big-time starting pitching advantage in this game, especially when you look at Mikolas' last start, giving up the 9 earned runs, 10 total runs against the Reds. And Jones has been excellent at PNC Park this season. I don't think they have the bullpen advantage. I think St. Louis has the much stronger pen. So if it's a close game late, I think St. Louis could find a W. That's why I'm willing to take the Pirates in the first 5 innings and lay a half a run. As we've mentioned, Jones 2.2 ERA at PNC this season, 49 innings, 50 strikeouts. He's in good form. He had a nice bounce-back start against the Rays in that last game. 7 innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts, and a 4-3 Pirates win. We mentioned the Mikolas start the last time out. I'm going to go with the Pirates in the first 5. Next up, we see the New York Mets taking on the Washington Nationals. Christian Scott and Mitchell Parker are your starters. The first start back for Scott at the major league level since May 30th. He actually was pitching pretty well before being optioned to the minor leagues. He had a sub-4 ERA in the final game. His final start on May 30th was 5 innings, 2 runs, and a Mets victory. And, he pitched well in AAA, Syracuse, when he was optioned. 42 1/3 innings, 55 strikeouts. That's 11.7 Ks per 9. The home runs per 9 was pretty steep, which is, a little bit concerning, but 2.76 ERA, you'll take that all day long. I think Scott pitches pretty well here. And Parker, while he's pitched well in his rookie season, is a tough matchup against the Mets. They have hit lefties very, very well in the last month. For me, the Mets are the play here. I'm going to go New York on the money line. Next up, the Cincinnati Reds taking on the New York Yankees. Andrew Abbott and Carlos Rodon, pair of lefties on the mound in this one. Carlos Rodon, it's just tough to back the Yankees in this spot with his current struggles. I mean, we've mentioned the regression concerns at the beginning of the season. It looked like he actually found his game at one point, but now we're starting to see what we saw towards the, basically all of 2023 and at the beginning of 2024. A lot of earned runs, extra base hits, sharp contact, you name it. The control issues, the inconsistent strikeout numbers, and the Yankees are now 0-3 in his last 3 starts. They were all blowout losses, basically 8-4, 8-1, 9-2. Andrew Abbott's in great form, and the Reds have hit lefties pretty well in the last month. So for me, I got to go with the Cincinnati Reds here, plus the 1.5 runs, and on the money line in this one at Yankee Stadium. Next up, we see the Houston Astros taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Ronel Blanco and Yusei Kikuchi are your starters. I don't like what I'm seeing from Yusei Kikuchi recently. He's not pitching deep into ball games, struggling early in starts. His last 4 starts were 5 innings or fewer all those games. The Blue Jays were 1-3 in those starts, including that last one, 16-5 loss. So Kikuchi's not only struggling, but this Blue Jays bullpen is also injuries and underperforming basically from the beginning of the season. You got an Astros team that does a good job at limiting strikeouts against lefties. I think they provide a really tough matchup for Kikuchi. Ronel Blanco, didn't have his best start in that last game, but he also didn't get helped out. There was a really key error in that game against the Mets where 3 unearned runs scored in the end for, Blanco. It was 5 2/3, and he gave up 3 home runs. It wasn't a good outing, but I still think he's the better option in this game. I trust the Astros lineup and bullpen more in this spot as well. Give me the Astros on the money line and run line in this one. Next up, we see the San Francisco Giants taking on the Atlanta Braves. Jordan Hicks and Chris Sale are your starters. I think it's going to be a competitive game here. I would take the 1.5 runs with San Francisco. I mean, the Braves are huge favorites in this one because Chris Sale is a starter, but I think they're a little bit overvalued. I mean, Chris Sale's been excellent this season, especially when he's pitching at home where he's 7-0 with a sub-3 ERA. But the Giants in the last month and pretty much overall this season have hit lefties very well. In the last 30 days, 11.2% walk rate, very, very high. The strikeout rate sub 20%. It's around 19%, very solid. Number 3 in team OPS, just behind the Twins and the Mets. Top 10 in isolated power. So they've hit lefties very well. I think they can get to Sale for a few runs. And while the month of June was not too kind to Jordan Hicks, I still think overall this season he's pitched well. I think he bounces back, and I think we see a close game. I'm going to take the 1.5 runs with San Francisco. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Chicago Cubs. We're going to see Zach Wheeler and Shota Imanaga as your projected starters. Shota Imanaga bounced back in a big way after that game against the Mets where, it was a disaster, but he had a quality start in San Francisco against the Giants team. We just talked about how well they've done against lefties this year. It was an impressive start for Imanaga in a Cubs victory, and I think he pitches pretty well here. The Phillies are certainly missing Harper and Schwarber in that lineup, and Zach Wheeler's not been great on the road this season. He's been excellent at Citizens Bank Park, but on the road, an ERA above 4.35 in about 40 innings of work. I think the value lies with the Cubs in this one, getting a great price with Chicago. Give me the Cubs on the money line. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres taking on the Texas Rangers. Adam Mazur and John Gray are your starters. Don't really love either of these starting pitching options in this game, but I do think the Padres have a much better bullpen and honestly more consistent lineup. So I'm going to take San Diego on the money line in this game. I mean, John Gray, I do think eventually he's going to find his game, but right now I just don't really trust him. He has not really pitched deep into ball games consistently this year. We've seen some really good outings, but that last game against Baltimore, 8 earned runs, only 1 strikeout through 5 innings of work. I just can't trust the Rangers. And, like I mentioned with the bullpens, even if both starting pitchers struggle early on, I think in a close game late, I trust San Diego's bullpen a lot more. So give me the Padres in this one on the money line. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Kansas City Royals. We're going to see a former Ray on the mound and Michael Wacha for KC. Ryan Pepiot going for Tampa Bay. I do think Pepiot is the better starting pitching option in this game. These lineups to me are a little bit similar, and their bullpens as well, but I do think Tampa Bay's bullpen has improved a lot more than Kansas City's recently. And Pepiot, believe it or not, most Rays starting pitchers pitch a lot better at Tropicana Field. Guys like Savale, Zach Eflin, Taj Bradley. But Pepiot is the exception. He actually pitches a lot better on the road. On the road this season, 26 innings, a 3.46 ERA, 3-1 record with 33 strikeouts in those 26 innings. While at home at Tropicana Field, 45 2/3, a 1-3 losing record, 4.93 ERA. So I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Rays here. I think while Wacha's improved, I still don't love his game, and I do think Tampa Bay will be able to get to him. I think that lineup has really improved, especially when they're getting guys back from injury. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay on the money line in Kauffman Stadium. Next up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Minnesota Twins. Jack Flaherty and David Festa are your starters. Now, Jack Flaherty's pitched well this year. His last game, he struggled quite a bit. 5 earned runs, 3 home runs against the Angels in a 5-0 loss. He's been a pretty profitable starting pitcher, especially recently. The Tigers are 4-1 in his last 5 starts. But even if Flaherty pitches well in this game, and even if the Tigers do a little bit of damage against David Festa, I still think the Twins have the much better bullpen, and I trust their lineup a lot more in a close game late. So I'm still going to take Minnesota on the money line in this game. I mean, Festa, he struggled, that first game at Chase Field, but we know it's never easy pitching at Chase Field, and still it was a 13-6 Twins victory. It goes to show you how much improved this Twins lineup has been. It's why I like their chances to find an AL Central crown this season. Right now I think you can get plus 300 odds or so for the Twins to win the division. I'd take it. I mean, Cleveland's pitching staff, while their bullpen's excellent, their rotation is not, and I think the Twins are going to catch them, especially if they continue playing like this offensively. And they have one of the better rotations on paper in baseball, and starters that struggled early on, like Pablo Lopez, starting to find their game. So I think the Twins are a very dangerous team, and like I said, I think Flaherty's a better starting pitching option in this game, but I think the Twins find a victory late. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Colorado Rockies. Colin Ray and Dakota Hudson are your starters. It might be square, but I got to go with the over here at Coors Field. Colin Ray, an ERA above 4.5 on the road this season, and his expected numbers are worse, honestly, overall. The expected ERA, I think he struggles at Coors Field. Dakota Hudson, I don't really have a lot of faith in his game. He has not been great this season. Overall, an ERA of 5.84, but at Coors Field, an ERA above 8 at 8.58 with an 0-5 record in 35 2/3 innings. The control has been way off for him. 23 walks in those 35 innings. And then you look at the bullpens. I mean, the Brewers' bullpen has not been great in this series. The Rockies' bullpen has not been great all season, especially at Coors Field. So I think we could see another high-scoring game in this series. Give me the over in Brewers-Rockies. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Oakland Athletics. Davis Daniel and Joey Estes are your starters. This is one of the tougher games on the board, in my opinion. And honestly, I think Wednesday's card in Major League Baseball is pretty tough overall. But in this spot, it's a little bit contradicting because I do think Joey Estes looked, a lot better in that last game against these Angels back on June 26th. But it's never easy facing the same lineup twice. And even though he pitched well in that game, the A's still wanted to lose that one 5-2 because that bullpen's not been great recently, and the lineup has really fallen off as well. On the other side, Davis Daniel was excellent in his Major League debut. I don't necessarily think he's going to be able to pitch like that for too much longer at the Major League level. He is like the 25th or so prospect in the Angels organization, which we've mentioned the Angels don't really have a rich farm system right now. So for me, while he pitched well in that game, he could very well pitch well here. It's just tough to trust him long term, in my opinion. I'm going to lean towards the Angels because I do trust their lineup more. I think both of these bullpens and starting pitchers kind of in the same boat right now. But I do think the Angels have the better lineup, so that's why I'm going to lean towards the Halos, but a game I'm staying away from. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.